what's your definition of true happiness?
It's interesting because our definition of happiness generally will come from our past and our experiences and our belief systems. So if I grew up thinking and believing from, a family member that if I didn't have money, I wasn't going to be happy. So my definition became, if I won the lotto tomorrow, I wouldn't be any happier than I am right now. And I still grab that definition and that philosophy. But my true definition of happiness is really to be able to be content in any situation, wake up happy every single day, but knowing that it's a choice, that you have a choice to wake up happy. And that choice then becomes a chain reaction. So then you're able to spread more happiness around. And that's, I guess, part of my purpose.
Love that. I really love that. So you feel, so you've kind of been able to take yourself into a place that even should you get showered in cash in some way, that you feel like your life wouldn't change too much in some respects. You kind of already living that dream life now.
Yeah, because I built it for myself. Like, yeah, probably would maybe buy a new car or, all the materialistic things, right? But materialistic things are just happy things. Joy is the actual feeling you get from being a state of happiness. It's like a quick fix, right? We all know that you can buy a house and then you'll die and it'll just be here. And it'll be, maybe generational, which is great. Generational wealth. Same with a car. It'll eventually end up in landfill. Or, who knows? So everything is temporary and minimalistic things are just like the way to go these days. Because I think we always want more. You know what I mean? We always want more. And when we kind of just take a step back and think, if I did win the lotto tomorrow, I'd probably upgrade some things around the house. But most of the time when people actually win a large sum of money, they're broke within a few years. And then they're back to feeling the same level of happiness they did beforehand. And that's all been scientifically proven as well with every person who's got a large sum of money. You'll find as well when you listen to all the interviews of the billionaires around the world, that they've just got a simple life. They wear the same clothes every day. They eat the same food every day. They do what they love. They're purpose driven. And they say the same thing. If they made more money, they wouldn't be any happier. And I believe that's because they're already living the life that they desire and they're content in their situation.
No, I agree with you. I really would. So I think, I'm sure there's been some studies done around the equation between money and happiness. And after a certain period, after a certain level, once you're comfortable, as in if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you think about, there are certain safety needs and fundamental needs. You need a roof over your head and shelves. You need those sorts of things. But then there's a certain point, a threshold where extra money, it might be nice or fleeting for a period of time, but then after that, it sort of doesn't make that much difference. So I think there's definitely more of a theme, which I'm really excited about actually, where much more people are waking up to, and something you've mentioned in your book is more around health is wealth. Yeah. And I really like that movement. I like the way it sounds and like the way it feels. In your experience from writing the book, how can someone become happier in those 30 days?
Yeah. It's actually so interesting. I had this, I think he was like a 80-year-old doctor. He was actually really good friends with Olivia Newton-John, and he was telling me that you can't be happier in 30 days. You just can't. And I was like, well, you can. You can be happy right now if you want to be, because it's just a state of being and a belief system. Now, the difference between being happy now, like, oh, my husband bought me a puppy, I'm so happy, to then actually waking up happy every day and actually living a purpose-filled life, I think they're two completely different things. And that is when we define the difference between happiness and joy. Joy is the feeling that you need to feel every single day to feel fulfilled, happy, grateful, and content. So that's what we should be striving for, is daily joy and not just happiness. Wrote 30 Days to Happiness because everyone thinks happiness is just, the way to go these days. Not many people talk about joy. But interesting. So be happy in the next 30 days. The idea is that you follow these certain habits, you adopt one every day or one every week, and you conquer that habit. And what happens is that you end up not just rewriting your story and your belief system, but reconstructing your subconscious mind to wake up happy every single day. And what it is, it's like a toolbox. So, example, the other day I was very overwhelmed and I was like, okay, well, I feel like I need something. All right, let's pick out one of my habits from my book, first aid kit, like a toolbox. I'm going to go for a white space walk. White space walk is where you don't wear headphones, you don't, like, literally nothing. Don't take your phone. Obviously take your phone if it's in a dangerous area. And you just go for a walk and you listen to the birds and you let your thoughts process. You think and you understand what you're thinking. That will really help you understand what's really going on in this brain of yours. And I did that and I came back and I was like, whoa, I feel like I've just had a spa day. I just feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders because I've been able to just reset. And that was just an example of using one of the habits in my book.
I'm a big, anyone who listens to the podcast will know that I'm a big advocate for the walk. I genuinely deeply believe it can transform your life in many ways. And I was sharing previously that I did this test. I was feeling a bit low. There was a day before Christmas I was feeling a bit low.
Yeah.
I journaled before and I felt, I just wrote down, I feel a bit this, I feel a bit that, some trapped emotions. 20-minute walk, came back. Everything I said was hopeful, more confident, feel more light. That's 20 minutes. And essentially I'm two different people from one moment to the next based on 20-minute walk. So it's incredible. You can transform how you feel. And you're right, that walk is just full of joy because you're just outside. And I think there must be something that goes on in your brain where there's something, you transition from being in fight or flight just more into the creative side of how you feel.
Yeah, and you're just relaxing your nervous system as well, so you're not in fight or flight mode. And I guess what you find is that when you change your environment, you also change your perspective. So environment is generally the first thing that you'll need to change your belief systems. A lot of people think, oh, I've got to change my thoughts. And then I've got to change my actions. And then I've got to change my character. And then blah, blah, blah. You've actually got to change your environment. Example, if you get home from work every day and on the way home, you drive and get McDonald's and then you sit down on the couch, watch TV, and then you go to bed. And that's a routine. That's becoming a new normal, right? You've got to change your environment if you want to change, your health and your situation. Say you want to lose 10 kilos, you're going to have to spend that time and change your environment and go to the gym. And if we go deeper again, if you're in a gym where people just don't inspire you, they're always negative, they don't, maybe they're not in the journey that you actually want to be on. Same with networking groups, right? Then you might want to change gyms, or you might want to change networking groups, or you might want to change environments, right? When you surround yourself with people and put yourself in the situation and in the environment of the person that you want to become, that automatically shifts something in your brain. It's like different perspective. And that's why I also suggest, like, in productivity hours, that you actually move like locations, not literally locations, but like, instead of working in the office, go to the kitchen table. Or instead of going to the kitchen table, maybe go to a cafe and do your money-making activities there, because changing your environment will change your perspective. Every time I've actually gone away and it's been like on a working holiday, where I've like been with like mastermind groups, or I've been giving speeches or something like that, they've always been my biggest financial months, which is really interesting. I was talking to my husband about this the other day. I was like, isn't that so interesting? And I truly believe it's that as an entrepreneur myself, I know myself really well that I need to change my environment quite often, quite frequently, to be able to change my perspective and get a clear focus. So, I don't know. I just found that quite interesting, and it kind of ties in what we've just been talking about.
What do you think's going on there? Do you think it's, like, for you personally, do you think it's your energy shift? Do you think there's something that's happening because what do you think's happening? It feels like it's something to do with your energy.
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, like when you're in a place where you eat, you sleep, you work, right? You nurture as a parent, and it's just a repeated cycle. You almost get claustrophobic. Well, I do anyway. I'm like, I need to get out of this house. And it's interesting. It's the same as, if you read my book and my website, you know that I was a horse rider. And the thing is, when you train a horse in the same place that it eats and sleeps, in the same paddock it lives in, it will not perform as well as if you were to take it out of that environment. They perform better on fresh land, on something new, right? It's just like it triggers something in the brain and gives you, again, a whole new perspective. And it's an energy, I think perspective is an energy shift in itself, right? And we're just looking at our environment slightly differently, and it's like a fresh, clean slate for us. Well, that's the way I see it, but I'm sure there's a lot more science behind it.
Yeah, kind of created a thought in my mind. I remember I was on a flight and I landed. I think I was doing a meeting in Dublin, and I had a few hours to kill before. And I thought, well, I like this place. I sat down, got a coffee, got out a journal, and I noticed really quickly. I was like, oh, I'm kind of in like a visionary state here. And I thought, actually, I'm just going to get a piece. And I remember writing everything down for about 2 or 3 hours that just flew by. And I'm thinking, it's an exciting place to be. It's an airport. We've just landed. There's a bit of excitement about it. There's people getting on, getting off. And after I thought, oh, wow, I think that's what alluding to what you're talking about here is, we changed the location somewhere to more exciting, a bit more maybe exotic. I'm not too sure, but just interesting. And it raises your vibration, raises your energy in some respects.
That's it. I'm all about raising vibration as soon as you can, like pretty much when you're in a bit of a slump. And as entrepreneurs, it's so up and down. Like everything is just up and down always. And that's just entrepreneurship, and you've got to get used to that. So anytime I'm like feeling super down in the dumps, or I wake up and I'm just feeling off, the best thing you can possibly do is just like raise your vibration as soon as possible. And there's so many things you can do. You can exercise, get your dopamine hit, your endorphins running. You can accomplish something, clean the house, do that money-making activity you've been resisting. You can visualize, spend 10 minutes in meditation and visualize, go for a white space walk. There's so many things you can do to raise your vibration. But generally, if you do just spend 10 minutes, 5 minutes doing that when you feel like you've hit a bit of a low, it's just a high performance habit to bring yourself back up again. And it's actually training you in your subconscious mind to continue going back up again, 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 every time you feel like you've gone down. And it's really hard to do without those tools and without those habits, unless you just decide that you're going to be grateful and you're going to be happy, right, without faking it. So that's why I think certain habits and having the toolkit, like in my book, 30 Days to Happiness, is quite helpful.
Well, what I love you sharing here is that you're really making it accessible in the fact that people very quickly can make a choice to be happy, to be happier. So do you feel it is a choice in some respects that you can choose to be happier than you are today? In some respects, if you follow habits or routines, do you think you can raise your vibration that way to feel happier?
Yeah, well, you can do it right now as well, just by thinking about things that you're so grateful for. And the best way to think about this is imagine yourself waking up the next day blind, that you can't see. How much more grateful are you now for your eyes? Or you wake up and something happens and you've lost your legs and you can't ever walk or run again and you love running. Doesn't that make you appreciate your legs? That to me is real gratitude. Because when we think, oh, I'm grateful for the roof over my head, I'm grateful for this, and we start writing our list every morning, it just becomes a bit routine. But when you really sit in gratitude, it automatically increases and raises your vibration. But most importantly, like you can't not be happy if you're full of gratitude and joy.
It's interesting because I know I was listening to a meditation recently, and that meditation was explaining that having fear and having gratitude can't exist at the same time. That was what the meditation was about. And I really bought into that, and I thought, that's really true, isn't it? If you focus on gratitude, what you're truly grateful for, and I often think about my wife and my son and my brand new son who's 7 days old.
Oh, congratulations. You for getting on a podcast with a 7-day-old newborn.
Oh, bless him. He's very awake at the moment, so we're okay. But there'll be lots of daddy cuddles after. But I think I go through those moments, and then there is no fear. And I think this is the interesting thing is that, and because you said it's about mindset, it's about beliefs. When you do practice gratitude and meditation, you can, for that moment, you can take away the fear, because you can be at one very quickly. once you kind of get attuned into that practice, which I really love.
Yeah.
You also talk a little bit about affirmations as well. Maybe you could share a bit about your perspective on affirmations.
Yeah. I think affirmations are a great way to reconstruct your subconscious mind. I mean, Louise Hayes, if you've read her book, Change Your Life, or what is it called? Anyway, something along those lines. Anyway, she's got some great affirmations in there, but I love affirmations that are linked and attached to your goals. So a lot of people create vision boards. I like to create action boards. So when you create an action board, it's like, okay, what's on the back of that image? I always write like, what's one habit, one action step, and one affirmation that I could say that's attached to that. You write all your affirmations. They can be health related, wealth related, relationship, vision, goal, whatever. But the ultimate goal is to just, if you believe it or not, you just got to say it every day until you actually do believe it. What you'll start seeing is, especially self-love affirmations, like if you do not love yourself, everything else in your life will not come together. It's really quite interesting. And when you are, like, I guess, in a good way, you love yourself and you love who you are and you're confident in your authentic self, you start attracting amazing and manifesting opportunities into your life. And then all the other affirmations make sense. So the first affirmation you really want to start with is like self-love affirmations. Like, I accept and love myself as I am. It's a great affirmation. One thing I say every single morning, it's like a declaration to myself. Every time I do this, I just have such a great day, like literally, and everything always works out for me. That's what I say. I say, all is well. Everything always works out for me. Everything is working out for my highest good. I am safe. I say that pretty much every morning when I wake up. And another thing you can do as well, say your affirmations when you're in a meditated state, or I think it's the state when you're just woken up and you're kind of still in a little bit of a dazed sleep. That's the best time to do your visualization, your affirmations, because you're more receptive to believing those words and those thoughts and the visions in your thought process. So yeah, just affirmations have really helped me. The first time I ever used them was, I think I was 16. I just looked in the mirror one day, hated the way I looked. I like literally cried. I hated the way I looked so much. Anyway, and then I don't know what came about me, but I went for a walk and I just started saying all these affirmations over me, all these self-love affirmations. I love my legs. I'm grateful to I can walk. I love my body. I love who I am, blah, 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 blah. And I did that pretty much every single day for like 3 months. And I'm so grateful I did that. And I don't know why I did that. No one told me to do that. And since then, I've never really dealt with self-hatred or not loved my body. And I'm grateful that I did that for how many months I did it for. So it changed my belief system.
It's amazing. That's really amazing. So did you find that you would have some negative thoughts that would just, they would just, everyone gets these negative thoughts, but you'd have some negative self-talks, like the inner critic, you would have some comments about yourself, which other people wouldn't think was true, by the way. It would just be some, your comments that you're saying. But in some respects, you somehow reprogrammed your mind, your beliefs by repeating it time and time again, you feel?
Yeah. And to build any kind of habit or new belief system, right? It's repetition. You've got to do it again and again and again until you believe it. A lot of people ask me like, oh, but I don't believe it. Like, I don't believe the affirmations I'm saying and it's really hard. I'm like, well, just keep going. You've got to do it. You got to start somewhere. Is it better to not say that affirmation and not rewire your brain just because you don't believe it yet? The ultimate goal for affirmations is to believe what you're saying. You're training your brain to believe what you're telling it to. That's the thing. You can tell and command your subconscious mind. This is so crazy, but you can literally command your subconscious mind to do anything you want to do. So I'll be like, I command my subconscious mind to remind me to buy eggs at the grocery shop. And it's really interesting, like how the brain works, honestly. It's just really cool.
Yeah, that is incredible. That is really incredible. Can we talk a little bit about, so on your website, we talk about 5 things. I'd like to dive into each one of those while we can. So we talked about wellness habits. We kind of already talked about some of those habits already. And we talk about self-belief. And we kind of just alluded to a bit there. So if someone's sort of struggling maybe with self-esteem, they don't have the belief in themselves, what sort of things, you kind of alluded to what you can do, but what sort of things can you do to have more confidence, have more self-belief?
Yeah. I think when you do something which proves something to yourself, it's an automatic confidence boost. Example, if you get to the gym and you don't believe that you can lift a certain amount of weight and then you do it, you're automatically going to increase your confidence. It's the same like, acing a test, doing better than you thought. That's going to increase your confidence. So if someone was in that situation, struggling with low self-esteem, I would first start with affirmations, pick the thoughts that have been consuming you for a long time, like all this, if it's self-hatred or I'm not good at this, or, kind of like if you're in a state of lack, then what you want to do is flip it. Example, if you don't like the way your legs look and you keep telling yourself and you believe that you don't like the way your legs look, it's just your belief system. It's not true. When you know that's not true, then you can flip it. And you flip into an affirmation and you say, I love my legs and I'm grateful today I can walk. And you can put a bit of a gratitude twist on it, like I was saying before when I used to go for my walks. You can do it the same with anything. Like if you really just feel like you're not aligned with your business and you're not loving it, what is an affirmation you can put in place? Start saying them as many times as you can every single day, all throughout the day.
And is this all things you say to yourself? Do you write it down and journal it as well? How do you really embed it?
Yeah, so I just write it down, put it on the bathroom mirror, put it in the car, put it when you wake up in the morning next to you, just put it everywhere. My favorite is in the car. A lot of clients had a lot of success with having them in the car, and they read it after their gym when they're already on a high vibration and they feel good about themselves and confident. And otherwise in the bathroom mirror, when you're doing your makeup, when you look at yourself and you do some mirror work and tell yourself you love yourself, like that is the best way to do your affirmations, right? So that's just one thing you can do. Exercise. Obviously, the more you kind of like feel good about yourself and the food you're eating, you're nourishing your body, because we are really what we eat. You are. If you're eating like, processed food every day, you're going to feel crap. You're going to feel depressed. Like it's the truth. So if you don't want to feel like that, you're going to have to change your diet. And you're probably thinking, I don't want to change my diet. I like what I eat. Well, what's more important to you? You may be on such a low where you think, I don't even care anymore. And then you've just got to really evaluate what is life all about for you. So it just depends on what level people are on, to be honest. But exercise, do something to prove yourself. Go run that marathon. Go skydiving. Go climb that mountain. Do something that's going to increase your confidence. Take a step out of that comfort zone. Affirmations, get a vision as well. If you're striving towards something, like it just increases your motivation either way if it's towards something that you really want to do. So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
What I love about what you're saying is it's actually about picking something hard to do, isn't it? What you were talking about there, because then you're proving to yourself that if you can do something hard, then you've evidence that you can do hard things. You can accomplish things. And the food one's interesting. I think a lot about food, and I eat a particularly clean, healthy, whole foods diet, if you will. But it's taken me quite a few years to get to this point. And now I am at this point. I find it really, really easy and simple and very natural. I think people struggle, and the reason I think I've understood it better now is that it's really simple. How many times have you ever had one chocolate or one crisp or something? You don't. You eat loads, right? You eat far more than you want to, and it's really simple. Those foods are addictive, so it's not your fault. So that's why I think people struggle to not consume those foods once they've started, and it takes you time, weeks sometimes, to get it out of your system.
Yeah.
For you. And the thing that I had a big breakthrough last year, because I went a really long time, 6 months, I think, no alcohol, no sugar, no takeaways, none of those things, all clean. And I just noticed I was calm, clear, consistent. And I struggled with self-esteem a little bit. But at that point, I was like, I feel amazing. I just feel meditating every day, walking every day, lifting regularly. And I was like, I just feel amazing. Like, and I haven't won the lottery, but I feel like I've won the lottery. Like, this is better than that.
Yep.
And now it's just quite of a natural thing, which is why wouldn't I want to feel like that? And I really want viewers, listeners to understand that these things are so attainable, and everything you're talking about is so attainable. But everything you've said so far is completely free.
Hmm,
Right.
that's it. And when you talked about like, health as well, that's a perfect example, you know, and I'm sure as well, you've probably added an extra few years to your life as well by doing that. Who knows? You just don't know. So I love that you've done that. And the thing is as well, it's not easy. Like nothing's really easy. It's like, if you've been a smoker for 20 years and you decide to give up smoking, it's got to take a process, right? It's going to detox process, and you go through the next stage, and you go withdrawals, and then there's phases, and it's exactly the same with any kind of processed food, any
Yeah.
kind of like dopamine.
That's the thing. I don't think people realize how addictive these things are, and the dopamine effect of all of it. So it's, you're fighting. I call it like an inner struggle. You're fighting with yourself. Your head's saying, I don't want the chocolate. That's part of you pulling you towards the chocolate. And it's, you have that inner struggle. I want to lose the weight. I want to eat the cake at the same time. Those two things can't coexist in some respects. You
Yeah.
also talk about, on your website, talk about letting go. So how can, if someone's, well, let me ask you, how would you define that first? What's your definition? What do you mean by letting go?
It's just letting go of things you can't control. So if you write down a list, like say you're overwhelmed or stressed, you write down a massive list of everything that you're stressed and overwhelmed about or what's going on in your life. You look at it, you cross out everything you have no control over, and then you're left with the things you do. So that's what you need to focus on. You just, again, change your focus, change your energy, put your energy into something that's actually worthwhile and you can control. And there's so many things in life we can't control all the time. And if you are a person who likes to control things, like me sometimes, it can be really difficult. It can be so difficult. It's like just, I don't know, it's just like this fire within you that you just can't control anything, and then you just shut down. So when that happens, it's just implementing small little things in your life that work for you to help you actually let go. That's just one exercise that you can do to help yourself let go and just change your energy focus. For me, I just kind of like, I give it to God. That's just what I do. I believe in God. So I just say, whatever you choose to believe in, you just say, hey, you can have all my problems. I don't want them. And it just helps me to physically like get it out of my head and give it to a higher power, something that's bigger than me. And it's the easiest way to let go. Other ways that we struggle to let go is because sometimes we've got such a strong emotional attachment towards something, right? Let's just say we've built this massive business and it's, we put our heart and soul into it, but it's just not aligned with our purpose anymore. And it's time to let it go, right? That's going to be tough, but that you're still in control of that. Things like tech issues or the weather, we can't control those things. So we just focus on things we can control. That's what I like to do. I like to just kind of like envision my life as if those things weren't affecting me. Through visualization, huge advocate of visualization and meditation. And just always go back to that. Always go back to your vision. That also, I think letting go also goes hand in hand with forgiveness and unforgiveness. So if you're struggling to let go of something specific, it could be something you said to someone, it could be, something you said to yourself, or something you did. And it's like forgiving yourself and actually letting that go. It's just like forgiveness is a choice again, just like happiness. Happiness is a choice, forgiveness is a choice. And I did want to mention as well that the happiest people on this earth are actually people who have been through the hardest things in their life or have done hard things. And it's the resilience that you build that actually is almost like a definition of happiness in a way.
So in some respects, is it almost better to seek out those hard things? Go climb the mountain, run the marathon, go to the gym, eat the right foods, go and do the thing that is slightly harder, or do the thing that is harder, because then it will benefit you in your well-being, your happiness, etc.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like if you didn't go to the gym compared to if you went to the gym compared to if you didn't, of course it's going to benefit you. If you ate good food and said, no, you good food, it's going to benefit you. But it's not easy, like we were saying before. So if you can just do like one thing at a time. Like, that's why I say conquer one habit each quarter or one habit each month. Just conquer it, and all the others will flow. Example, if you want to start getting to the gym, just conquer that one habit. If you want to eat better, conquer that one habit the next month. Just takes the pressure off, you know? And then you don't just fall off the wagon halfway through the month, which is what I'm finding now. A lot of people on social media are like, I'm so unmotivated and start of the year and blah, blah, blah. And like, I never have an issue with that ever. And I'm not being like up myself or anything. I'm generally being like, motivation is not really a word that I use because you do it or you don't. It's very black and white in my head. If you've got a vision, then you have to do the work to get there. There's no like sulking on the couch or feeling unmotivated. You still do it because it's part of the plan.
And is it because it's part of your vision, it's part of the plan, but you've also built systems and routines to ensure it happens?
That's it. Yeah. And that's the second part of it. I've gone through so much in my life, you know, from going through like depression to like building multiple businesses since I was 18 to like competing in bodybuilding comps and then just keep getting cancelled 4 weeks out during COVID. Like that hit me hard. And then being on stage 5 weeks pregnant at my bodybuilding comp. And then I got married and bought a house in that same year. And it was just and I had a baby. It's just chaotic. And even though it was just like, I've gone through so much in my life and I've done so many amazing things, but I don't know if I would be here today if I didn't go through those things. And it's made me, like, my level of resilience is so much higher that things don't affect me as much as they used to. So that's it. When you build a level of resilience, let's just say someone called you a name or, I don't know, something happened and it really affected you. The higher your resilience level is, the less it affects you. Not because you just shove it underneath a rug. It's because you've just like, well, I choose to believe something different, or I've had worse and this is nothing kind of thing.
To go back to one of the points you mentioned about letting go, because actually, I know I sometimes, I've written a book called Are You Lost in Your Shit? And, and it's kind of to call myself out a little bit, because sometimes we all get a little bit lost in our shit, get lost in our head a bit. And I often think about this, and I think letting go, you're worrying about the thing that you can't necessarily control. That's kind of where I am sometimes. And what you just said was a really simple exercise where you kind of get some paper. What's the thing? How much of it can you control? None of it. What can you focus on controlling right now? And then you focus on these things, and then the things that you can't control, which is the thing that's causing you the issue, let it go. Give it to a higher power, whoever your God is, or just let it go. And I really love that, because you kind of said, right, the universe is going to take care of me. I have belief in the world, and I'm going to focus on what I can control. And what I can control, what you're always talking about, is your systems and your routines.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, letting go can also be talking to someone about it.
Yeah.
And journaling, that's also another great way to let go. And like, as humans, we need to physically see what's going on or hear it sometimes to actually understand it, especially women. You know, we talk because we want to understand and process what's going on. And I'm sure men are exactly the same, but maybe find it a little bit harder to talk. So I think that's why counseling and therapy and journaling is actually just like so good for you, so healthy for you. And it's just another form of letting go. I remember I went to a therapist once, and I still, like, from all the trauma with what happened with my horses and everything, I still like was just like, every time even now, like anytime I see someone with a horse or this, I just start crying, because I've got this weird spiritual attachment towards like my horses that passed away and this and that. So, I went to a therapist, and I was telling her I had dreams. I went through hypnotherapists as well, and I kept having these I kept having weird dreams about my horses, and it's so funny. But I'd like wake up just like in tears and just like not sure why. And she's like, well, have you ever like, had a funeral for your horses? And I was like, no, I've just said goodbye. And she's like, well, why don't you, grab a plant or something and actually have like a funeral for them, because you never really got to say goodbye and let go. I was like, that's a really great idea. And it's just like a sense of closure. And no matter what season you're in, you can do the similar thing. Like if it's a new role in business or a career, or if it's a new relationship, or if you've got to let go of people in your life, like do something for yourself, which is a sign of letting go. Something that helped me with my very first relationship was every single, like the breakup, every Wednesday I'd go boxing. And it was like, okay, 1 week without them, kind of thing. And that was me. That was kind of like my thing to say, I've chosen something else and I'm doing something different for myself and I'm letting go. So you've just got to choose what, like, it's just a different philosophy of letting go, but you've just got to find what works for you.
I love that. And I love also, and I'm really sorry to hear about your horses because it does sound, I think I'd have some real issues with that as well. Because I know kind of the connection that you can have with horses. Unfortunately, I have my cats. But you know, so I think what I love about all of what you're doing, right, and also what you're putting out into the world, is this is all you mastering your mind, mastering yourself to kind of like predispose yourself to a positive outcome. And even in the situation you said, which is incredibly sad, which you talked about and said, if I have closure, that I can let this go and I can move on with my life. And it's kind of a way of releasing it. And even if you, like you said, you had a disagreement or with somebody, and it's about releasing it so therefore you can move on. And I really love that, because I think all these emotions get all pent up and everything else. And it for a lot of guys, it turns into anger or frustration or whatever. And we don't talk as much as women certainly do. And one of the things I'm trying to do with this podcast is to get men talking more. Because we need it. We absolutely need it more. Two things I wanted to talk about just before we close. But you've been great. It's been lovely talking to you, so I really appreciate it. So on your website, we talk about financial happiness as well. So can you give us your perspective on financial happiness?
Yeah, I guess it kind of just like, there's two sides to it, right? You've got like the realistic side, and then you've got just the side where you just shouldn't be attached to money because it doesn't make you happy. But that's not true. Money does make you happy. You can go on holidays. You can spend more things with your family. You can spend time with your family. Like, it's either time and money, right? So I think financial happiness to me, when I wrote that chapter, it was just really defining the difference between what true happiness meant for whoever reads it and for me as well. And if that is attached to money, and if you believe the only way that you can be happy is if you make money, which, still to this day, it's a belief system that I've been brought up with and still have to push away and say that's not true. It was just kind of like going through those motions and just really understanding which areas of my life am I relying on to be happy. Right? So for example, if someone your partner is doesn't do a certain thing and you believe that that's just not going to make you happy, then that's just going to be a new definition of happiness. Right? It's like the opposite, like mine was with the lottery. So I think with the realistic side of things and the logical, I would always obviously look at your budget, actually be really be good with your money. Talk to an accountant, talk to a bookkeeper. Don't be silly. But at the same time, you've also got to see, am I attached to money when it comes to being happy? Am I working really hard and, not making much of a difference just because I want that dopamine hit of me working hard, like I'm actually achieving something, because that's making me happy. So I guess, when I wrote that chapter, it was just really kind of like what we've already talked about when it comes to just the definition of happiness and money. And if that is true, and if you can kind of prove to yourself that it's not true, then you can look at happiness in a whole entire different realm.
No, I really, really agree with you on that. I was brought up in a similar way, which was the more money we acquire, we get hold of, the happier things are going to be. And myself and my close friends who kind of went through that during our careers, we both made a bit of money. He sold a business for a loss of money, a true loss of money. And he was like, it was possibly one of the most disappointing days because his thought was, well, hang on, when I got to this day and I suddenly have this number in my bank account, he was like, hang on, I'm still broken. Where's my emotion? All my emotions were still here. All my anxiety is still here. All this is still here. It was actually a really hard time for him more than anything else because he went down after that. It was a peak for a very short period of time because it was an achievement. But very quickly after that, we realised that's money is just solved a money problem. Like he's like, I've got more than I need now. Great, but I still got all these emotional problems. And I think that was a big revelation for him and for me as well, because I was in a similar situation. And
that's a great example. Honestly, it's a really great example.
And then we're going to come on to now finding purpose. And I think the interesting things, what I love where we started this conversation was, if you suddenly have a bunch of money, can you still live a life regardless of the money that you enjoy? Because, and I think about this a lot, which is you can go to the Bahamas or go to the Caribbean and you can go for that big holiday, which doesn't cost that £1 million. But you know what? After 2 or 3 weeks of eating all that crap and speaking all that, you get to a month, you're like, you know what? I need to be productive again to be happy, because I think your happiness will drift quickly. So can you give us your perspective on finding purpose?
Yeah, it's really great. I like that example because I think so many entrepreneurs have that mindset. They'll go on holidays and then they'll be like, oh, I'm ready to get back into a routine. Same at the start of the year. You take some time off over Christmas. You're like, I'm ready to get back into it now. And I think all of us need that break. All of us need that break. But when you are living a life where every single day, like I had this quote on my wall for so long, and it was, live every day as if it was a weekend. And if you live every day as if it was a weekend, then there is no such thing as weekends. So there's no such thing as holidays. It's just every day is an awesome day. And that's the way I lived my life for so long. And that's why I believe like I'm living my dream life. It's everything I envisioned. And it's because I choose to every single day to be like a weekend. I can choose to work on a Saturday. I can choose to work on a Tuesday. I can do whatever I want. And I'm grateful that I have the freedom and I built the business to do that. So if we look at purpose, and we use the example that we just did where you're on holidays, you come back, there's a bigger purpose to come back and do something bigger than, just live your life. And I have this workshop and you can find your purpose in 45 minutes. And it pretty much asks you very specific questions to help you kind of define it. And then how can you use your purpose, right? So a lot of people go, oh, you purpose this, purpose that. Purpose is not a one-time thing. It's not just the reason you're alive. It's an ongoing thing. Your purpose may change in different seasons of your life as well. And it's not a destination. Purpose is not a destination. You've got to keep going towards your purpose and it will never end because there'll always be new purposes. But in this season of your life, questions you can ask yourself is like, if I would do something every single day and I didn't get paid for it, what would I do? What do I love to do? What I don't like to do? What am I already doing for free? Like, there's just so many different questions you can ask yourself, but if you really find out like why you're alive today and you actually take action on that and pursue a career or pursue a life or, a routine around that, there's no reason for you not to be unhappy because you're making a difference. Most of the time, people's purposes are actually making an impact in environment, animals, population, poverty. There's so many different areas. And for me, it's like, happiness and I'm a really big advocate for suicide. So I'm like, my ultimate goal, my purpose is so big that by the time I leave this earth there has to be less suicides every day. Like, that is how big my purpose is, and that gets me out of bed every morning. And the only reason I found that is because what I went through in my journey and my purpose back, like 10, 12, 13, 15 years ago, right? So yeah, that's just a good place to start.
Well, I truly love talking to you today, and I feel lighter. I feel more energy. I feel like my vibration is raised just from being in your presence. And I've really loved the words and the advice and the guidance and positivity that you brought to the conversation. It's been really, really excellent.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking great questions. I love just awesome questions. They get me thinking. And thank you for being a great host. This was so fun.
Thank you. Pleasure. Listen, I'm going to go back and listen to this time and time again. So I know I'm thinking, right, whenever I'm lost in my shit a little bit, then I'm going to be writing out how do I let go and how do I move on. And just truly love this conversation. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.